We had lived on Sycamore Lane for just over 3 years when the neighbor at the end of the cul-de-sac began to draw everyone's attention. At first, it was nothing unusual. His house was the one with the tall oaks in the yard, an ivy-covered fence, and a red front door that never seemed to open. He kept to himself. You could walk your dog past his place 5 times a day and never see a flicker of movement through the windows. But that changed the night the curtain was left open. My husband, Greg, and I were having dinner at the table. Our 11-year-old daughter, Emily, sat by the window nibbling on garlic bread while gazing out at the street. That's when she said it. "Mom, why is Mr. Walker's bedroom window open?" I looked up from my plate. "Who?" "Mr. Walker. The guy at the end. His window's open. Like all the way open. And he has all the lights on." Greg raised an eyebrow. "That's odd." We lived across from Mr. Walker. His second-story bedroom faced our backyard. At that moment, I stood to get a better look. Sure enough, his curtains were pulled wide apart, and his window was open to the warm April night. The room was brightly lit, and there he was, sitting at a desk, typing on what looked like a typewriter, or maybe an old laptop. He was shirtless, wearing glasses, and fully immersed in his task. "Maybe he's just getting fresh air," I said, turning back to the table. But something about it felt odd. Purposeful, even. The next night, the window was still open. Same time, same bright light, same activity. This time, he wasn't typing. He was pacing back and forth across the room. Occasionally, he'd stop and look at a bookshelf or open a drawer, then resume his walking. He didn't seem to notice, or care, that his life was on full display for any of us to see. I didn't say anything, but when I went to make tea before bed, I found myself standing at the kitchen window again. He was still there, now standing in front of a mirror, combing his hair. It was too casual, too consistent. Like he wanted to be seen. The next day, Greg ran into our neighbor, Katie Marks, while getting the mail. "You ever notice that Mr. Walker leaves his window open every night?" she asked with a curious grin. Greg nodded. "Yeah, we have a direct view. Kinda strange, huh?" "Really strange. Almost like he wants an audience." Word spread fast. The Taylors down the street said they'd noticed it, too. Even Mrs. Montgomery, who rarely left her porch, said she'd seen him dancing in that room once. Dancing. Alone. By the end of the week, it became part of our nightly routine. We didn't admit it out loud, but everyone was doing it. Greg and I would take turns peeking out the kitchen window. Emily would pretend to get a glass of water, just to sneak a glance. Mr. Walker never acknowledged any of us. He moved with a sense of confidence, like he knew the world was watching, and he didn't mind. Then one night, something different happened. It was a Saturday just past 9. I stood by the window sipping chamomile tea when I saw him stand up from the desk and walk to the dresser. He slowly unbuttoned his shirt, folded it neatly, and placed it on a chair. Then he looked directly out the window and met my eyes. I froze. I hadn't realized he could see me. The light behind me was off. I thought I was invisible. But he looked at me, held the gaze for a few seconds, and then simply walked away, disappearing out of view. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept playing the moment over and over. It wasn't just that he saw me. It was that he knew I was watching. And he didn't seem surprised. If anything, he seemed to expect it. The next morning, there was an envelope on our doormat. No stamp, no address. Just our name written in perfect handwriting, the Palmers. I opened it carefully. Inside was a thick card with a short message in the center. "You've been watching. Maybe now, you'll start seeing." No signature. No explanation. Greg and I stared at the card for a while, neither of us sure what to make of it. He thought it might be a joke. A weird neighbor's way of breaking the ice. But something about it didn't feel like a prank. It felt intentional. Like a clue in some slow-burning mystery. For the next few days, Mr. Walker didn't appear. The windows stayed shut. The curtains closed. It was like he vanished. The neighborhood buzzed with speculation. Some said he was embarrassed. Others said he was out of town. A few believed it was all some kind of experiment, that we'd all been part of something without knowing. But then, just as the silence started to settle in, the curtain moved again. That night, his window was open, but this time, a painting sat facing us. It leaned against the wall, clearly positioned so that anyone looking in could see it. The painting was of our street. Every house, every yard. It was detailed, beautifully done. Almost photorealistic, but with a dreamy, surreal style. There was more. In the center of the painting, there were figures.
People. Us.
I could make out Katie and her dog, Mrs. Montgomery on her porch, Greg, and me sitting under our backyard tree. Emily riding her scooter. All of us. Captured. The following day, another envelope appeared. This one was addressed to the entire street. You've watched me long enough. I'd like to return the favor. Come see what I've seen. An invitation. Saturday evening. His house. An art exhibition. We didn't know what to expect, but nearly every family on Sycamore Lane showed up. Mr. Walker greeted us at the door with a warm smile, dressed in a gray sweater and jeans, completely different from his silent window presence. Welcome, he said, gesturing for us to enter. Come see yourselves. His home was transformed. Every wall was lined with canvases, paintings of the neighborhood, but not as we saw it. These were intimate, private. A couple arguing on a front porch. A child crying on the sidewalk. A woman sitting alone in her living room, wine in hand, staring at nothing. He had captured it all, moments we didn't think anyone saw. Some people were disturbed, others fascinated. A few even shed quiet tears. But no one left unaffected. Katie whispered, he didn't just watch us. He understood us. Later, I asked him directly, why the open window?
He paused.
We spend our lives hiding behind curtains, pretending we aren't curious about each other. I decided to live without those barriers. I knew you'd look, and in doing so, you might learn something not just about me, but about yourselves. His words stayed with me. That night, as I stood in my kitchen, I noticed something new, a flicker of light across the street. The Taylors had opened their window. Then the Marks. Then the Lanes. For the first time, our neighborhood felt like a community. We began to wave more. We shared more. Some nights, we even left our own curtains open, not for spectacle, but for connection. Mr. Walker changed the way we saw each other and ourselves.